Hello, welcome to part 4 of my deep dive into Jeffrey Epstein. Just bear with me for one moment. I've just got to change the banner. So just bear with me. I'll let a few people come in. We've got 5 watching. Tonight we're going to be covering the night or the morning that Epstein died. And did Jeffrey Epstein kill himself? Now, let me know what the audio's like. I'm just going to check with my sound engineer. Sound engineer?
Yes, no idea.
How's the audio? You don't know?
No, I'm feeding the dog.
Right, have you not got your phone with you now? So I'm going to rely on the viewers. Now, we're also going to look at a couple of things. One of them is going to be, did he kill himself? And I know some of you don't believe he's dead. Now, like I said before, I did question this at the time. And I come to the conclusion that he is dead. And I know a lot of you don't think he is. And that's okay. Because we can agree to disagree. But genuinely, I think he is dead. And the reason being, and we will look at all the evidence that he isn't dead, okay? On this channel, I am not the be-all and end-all, right? We all have our own opinions. I'm not right. No one's right. It's just finding the truth, okay? So don't for 1 minute think, well, Penny said that, so that means I don't get an opinion. You do get an opinion. Everybody gets an opinion. My opinion is he's dead. And the reason being is because, by the way, how's the audio? Let me know, because my sound engineer is predisposed. Hello everybody, welcome. Bridget, Sawun, Jane, Nikki, Carlos. I see my YouTube husband in there, Alan Air, just a few people there. Hello, welcome. I'm gonna get on with this, but big up, and big up the replay crew for those who are watching. Right, audio is great, brilliant. Hello, Terry Knowles Band again. Hi everybody, welcome in. Hit the like if you don't mind, and if you don't like me, hit the dislike, and I will not be upset. Okay, let's move on. So tonight we're going to be covering the morning of the alleged unaliving. Hi Lee, you've got to be careful how I say this now because they get a bit offended on the old poo tube. Hi Tamsin. So, did he kill himself? Is the first one. Now, I have always said he didn't, obviously. I had a t-shirt printed. Hi Blues Girl. Let me just give you a wrench, lovely. Hi Yvonne, how we doing? Welcome in, welcome in. If we can all welcome in Blues Girl, she's a lovely lady. I think no, you are a girl, aren't you? Because your name's Blues Girl, so it'd be a little bit obvious. I'm being a bit blonde. Guys, my asthma. I can't hear anything. Oh my goodness, Susan. Right, turn your volume up, love.
No, you can't have that much.
Could be something that simple, or it could be that, I don't know. It's a bit obvious I'm being blonde. Right, just to let you know, my asthma is Amethyst here. Hello, Amethyst. Can you guys not hear me? My asthma is so bad. Okay, let me know if you can hear me, because Susan can't hear me. My asthma's ridiculous, right? Really bad. So if I start gasping to breathe, I've just took the volume up. I did say that, didn't I? It might be that. If you hear me gasping, it's because my asthma's bad. Okay, right then. So, Jeffrey Epstein, as many of you will be aware, and I've gone back to the beginning because so many of you hadn't followed him from the beginning. Apparently died, was found dead. We're hearing different reports. We're hearing that he was found dead at 6:30 a.m. in his New York jail cell. We're also hearing that he was found alive and they tried to resuscitate him. We're told all these different things. Now, we're going to look at the evidence. I've always said he didn't kill himself. I had a t-shirt printed at the time in 2019 saying so. So many of you think he's still alive. We're going to look at the evidence after we've covered whether we think he killed himself. If he's still alive. I honestly don't know. Okay. Those new venting hair. I know. The ones where you flip the thing down. I've just taken 10 puffs. It's done nothing. I can't breathe properly. Right. So if I shut off and I have to go, hi random. Thank you. God, this is ridiculous. Hi, lovely jubbly. So, first of all, we're just going to get some information on the morning that he died. So, and then we're going to watch a video. We're going to watch one or two videos that 60 Minutes Australia did a really good deep dive at the time. But first of all, we're just going to look at this. So this was put out just last week or just over a week ago, with some new ghoulish pictures that came out. So we're going to be flipping between the current releases, because there has been a lot more released about the death of him, and we're going to be going back and looking at old articles at the time and old videos, because a lot of the newer stuff is papering over the cracks of what actually happened. What gets me is it's wall-to-wall coverage now on X saying, oh my god, the doctor that was at the post-mortem said he didn't believe it. We covered that 6 years ago. It's not new, all right? But people are jumping on this now and acting like they know all about it. Well, we've been saying this for years, and we got censored for it. I had so many strikes about this, it's ridiculous. But I kept my channel on this one, which is good. Sorry, my Curious Bunny one, not this one. Right, okay, so these are these pics. So this is 18 plus. So let me just change the banner. Welcoming everybody. I hope you're all okay. I will be doing some more streams over on the Curious Bunny as well, so just bear with me on that one. We will be doing it. Just going to add an over 18, because we don't want anyone coming in you know, being upset. That's the last thing we want, is people upset. Okay, if I do put it to over 21, a lot of you won't be able to watch, so I've left it on this for now, not made for kids. Hi Claire Bear, how you doing, my lovely? Okay, so this is a short video here. I think we've seen bits of this. We're just going to watch this little clip and then we're going to read this report. Okay, Tier 1, yeah, I think we've watched this before, but just watch this again.
Class 3 sexual predator.
Tier 1.
You're highest and worst?
No, I'm
The lowest?
I'm the lowest.
You're the
I'm a
Do you
Tier 1
think you're the devil
predator.
himself?
No, but I do have a good mirror.
It's a serious question.
Sorry.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
I don't know. Why would you say that?
Because you have all the attributes. You're incredibly smart. You remember the devil is
Was
somebody
the devil
knows.
smart?
The devil's brilliant. You read Milton's Paradise Lost.
No, the devil scares me.
Satan is at the number 1 or 2 archangel, and the reason he goes to hell and leads the rebellion is because he can't be the top guy. And his thing is, I'd rather.
This came out during in one of the latest files. Why does it keep doing that? Stop it. Keeps on going. The audio keeps going down. Don't know why.
Saw that in a movie.
Saw that in a movie. Right, okay, so let's just read this article. Ignore that. I don't know why that's there.
2, 1.
Why are we seeing a SpaceX launch? What is going on? Okay, so it says here, previously unreleased pictures of Jeffrey Epstein's, Eggstein, whatever you want to call him, body has been released. Obviously, this is 18 plus. He has 10 TENS pads, electrode patches found in CPR kit stuck to his bare chest, a neck brace, and has an oxygen tank strapped to his gurney with a clip. Now, this doesn't make any sense because they said they found him dead. He's also hooked up to an IV drip. More and more evidence is coming out that this guy was not found dead. Okay, so which is it? Okay, so one of the pictures shows Eggstein's horrifically red and bloated face with deep cuts to his neck where a makeshift noose dug into the flesh. Now we're going to get further into this. I'm going to put this on record categorically. He did not kill himself. Okay, I've said it before and I'll say it again. He did not kill himself. When this happened, almost 7 years ago now, they said there was 3 fractures. Now, when you hang yourself, you get 1. Okay, if your neck snaps as you land, as you fall, you get 1. A lot of people don't have a broken neck, they just suffocate, they don't have any breakages. But if you have 1, it can be totally down to hanging. Now, nobody ever has 2 fractures if you hang yourself. Epstein had 3. 3. That is impossible. 3 fractures is impossible on a hanging. So is 2. So he didn't kill himself. All right. But we're going to get further into this. Hello, Mandy. Hello, how you doing, lovely? Hello, Princess. Hello, James. Julian Assange. Again, in my opinion, he isn't what you think he is. He's another gatekeeper. And we've covered that before, but I'm not going to get into it now. But I don't trust everything that guy says either, because he was part of the cult. He was from the family, an Australian cult. You don't come through a CIA cult and then turn into a truther. I don't know. That's just my opinion. But anyway. So, other photographs show Epstein's cell following his death with a strip of orange fabric that the financer reportedly used. I'm going to debunk all of this in a minute, by the way. Further pictures show Epstein's thyroid cartilage almost entirely fractured. The death investigation, labelled as document blah 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 in the DOJ's mass release last Friday, gives a blow-by-blow account. Now, they're saying that this is the noose, okay? I'm going to show in a minute how it wasn't. Pictures show the makeshift noose. Now, they have basically said they don't know what noose it was. And we'll watch a video shortly. Okay, so they said they found him dead in the cell, but now we've seen him being worked on. Hi, Stephen. So which is it? The amount of inconsistencies are mind-blowing. On the day before his death, Epstein went to court on the 9th in the morning and his cellmate left in the afternoon. Okay, so we're going to get deeper into this in a moment, but he said that his cellmate tried to kill him. I think it was a few days before. They put it down as his first attempted suicide. No, his cellmate tried to kill him, and that's why his cellmate was moved. Epstein was not suicidal. By the way, guys, we all know he's an evil piece of S, but the thing is, he is just one of them. He is taking the flak. He's a patsy for this entire operation, okay? Him and Randy Andy, they are evil people, very evil people, but they weren't the be-all and end-all of this. This goes massive, huge. We're talking royal family, not just Randy Andy. Like, look whose best mate was with Jimmy Savile, Prince Charles. Look at the Uncle Mountbatten. Paedophile. This isn't just going as far as Randy Andy. They're trying to contain it all by distracting us with the Epstein thing. So I am not defending this guy. He's an evil piece of shit and very, very sick. But I will say that he didn't kill himself. All right, so anyone that thinks I'm defending him, I'm not. I just want to get to the truth, okay? Hi, Jan. Is that you, Jan, or is that a different Jan? We haven't seen Jan for ages. I think it's a different Jan. I don't know. Right, okay. Now, the officer in the report said that Epstein's cellmate possibly may not return, so Epstein would need a cellmate upon arrival from his attorney visit. Now, they're not, when they are placed onto suicide watch, they are not allowed, well, welcome, Jan Love, they are not allowed to be on their own, all right? He was taken off suicide watch because they deemed him not suicidal, but we'll get into that. We're going to get deeper into this, okay? So he should have had, that evening, Epstein made a 20-minute phone call, but the report doesn't state who he reached out to. The convicted, they're calling him a sex offender, he was far worse than that, but there you go, was permitted to make the call in the shower area, and an officer dialed the number in for him, but he didn't have his phone access code and PIN set up. The officer then left Eggstein with 2 officers who were working an overtime shift until 8 a.m. the morning of August the 10th. At 6:33 that day, a body alarm was activated and the morning lieutenant on duty was told by the officer that he'd hung himself. So, first of all, we're going to get deeper into the officers, but they're supposed to have checked on him every 30 minutes. He wasn't allowed to be alone, and he was alone. The cellmate was removed. He never had a replacement, and they weren't checking on him. So we're going to get into this now. So this is new. This is gross, guys. If you're grossed out, don't look, okay? So this is in the new files. The thyroid cartilage is almost entirely ossified, and the cricoid cartilage is partially ossified. The thyroid exhibits 2 fractures, one on the left horn and one to the right. He had 3. All of these were fractured. Impossible in a hanging. We did not complete. Here we go. The warden said we did not complete the 3 a.m. or the 5 a.m. rounds. A second officer states, while a third says we messed up, then corrects himself. I messed up. She's not to blame. We didn't do any rounds. Eggstein was moved to a second-floor medical centre and a nurse performed CPR after the lieutenant earlier performed CPR, but no pulse was found. These are just gross. Don't look, guys. He was transferred into an ambulance and taken to Beacon Hospital, where his official time of death was reported as 7:36 a.m. Now, there's a video I want to show you. I'm just going to grab it now. I've got 2 dogs here now. Hello, dogs. How are we all doing, guys? What are people saying in chat? I believe he's dead. Honestly, I do. What are people saying in chat? Anyone at the top is suspect. Mountbatten was blown up in that yacht. Let's not forget that Ghislaine's, the lame Giz Maxwell's daddy, has also disappeared on a yacht. Just saying. Okay, so I'm going to show you a video now. Let me just grab it up. It's really, really good stuff. Right, before we do that, I found this in the files, guys. Have a look at this, see what you think. Now, this was in the files, and it says it was for immediate release. Now, I'm going to wait and see if anyone can pick up what's wrong on this document before we watch the video. So, this is from the Manhattan US Attorney on the death of defendant Jeffrey Epstein. Right? So we've got, how do I get rid of that there? Okay, it's official. It's official paperwork. Southern District of New York for immediate release. Look at the date. I'm going to make this into full so you can see it better. Hold on.
No. Leave her alone.
Have a look at that. Friday, the 9th of August, 2019. He didn't die till the 10th. Look at the date. Friday, August the 9th, for immediate release. They drafted this document the day before he even apparently died. You couldn't make this shit up. Try and make it bigger for you so you can read it. Look. Friday, the 9th of August, US Attorney's Office. The contact for the US Attorney's Office. And it says, and I'm gonna read it all for you in full. Manhattan US Attorney Jeffrey S. Berman said early this morning, again a day early, the Manhattan Correctional Centre confirmed that Jeffrey Epstein, who faced charges brought by this office of engaging in I'm not going to say the word because of YouTube, trafficking of minors, had been found unresponsive in his cell and pronounced dead shortly after. Today's events are disturbing, and we are deeply aware of their potential to present yet another hurdle to giving Epstein's many victims their day in court. To those brave young women who have already come forward, and to the many others who have yet to do so, let me reiterate that we remain committed to standing for you and our investigation of the conduct charged in the indictment, which included a conspiracy count. It remains ongoing. Remain anyone who feels they may be a victim to ring the FBI. Now, this was dated the 9th. So they actually drafted this letter to stick out to the public the day before. This was in the files, folks. So, first of all, that's impossible. They knew what was going on. They knew that they were going to say that he was dead, and they had already got it ready to put out. You couldn't make this shit up. So there's your proof. There's your first discrepancy straight away. Now, I want to show you this video that is actually, you know, occasionally the media do some good work. Now, for everyone's talking about this doctor who was actually present at the I'm not going to read chat anymore for a moment, okay, because I get distracted. But welcome everybody. I hope you're all okay, and I hope you're enjoying the live stream. They could have put the the thing is though, Bridget love, just before I move on, they could have put the wrong date on it. Hi Nanny, why haven't you got a wrench? Let me check. They actually could have, but when you've got so many inconsistencies, you've got to question it, haven't you? I thought Nanny changed her name. Is that definitely you, Nanny? Please hit the like. I thought you had a wrench. Could it be a baddie? Could it be an imposter? Surely not. Roll me back. Right, I'm probably going to have to nip to the loo in a minute, by the way. So when I do, I'll do it when this video's on. So this doctor who was present during the examination, hang on a sec, not that one. He actually comes out, and he was employed by the family. Now, Mark Epstein is Jeffrey's brother. And, excuse me, he employed the doctor, this doctor to do a deep investigation into all of the evidence, all right? All of the evidence, not just, you know, the basics that they've come out with. He wanted... Oh, what's this? Hang on. I understand. Oh, it's telling me that there's suicidal content. So he was employed by this guy, and they wanted him to do a deep dive and look at all of the evidence. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to pop this up. I'm going to pop to the loo, and I'm going to leave this on. It's a 5-minute video. Hi, Dave. How you doing, my friend? Right, hang on. Nanny, drop me a message on Facebook, please, so I know it's you. So this is actually a really good piece of journalism. They have bought out, they've re-released this, but I've got the original, look, from 6 years ago. And it says that 60 Minutes has obtained the photographs from inside the sex offenders. This was before any of the files were released. The sex offenders, and during his autopsy, they shed new light and possibly raised more questions. So I do think this is worth a watch. I have watched it yesterday, and I thought this is definitely something that we could watch. So I'm just going to leave this on a moment. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
60 Minutes overtime.
Why is it not showing?
There are mysteries surrounding Jeffrey Epstein's death. And even after reviewing all the autopsy photos, reading the autopsy, and looking at the photos from inside the cell, we still have questions. What we do know is that Jeffrey Epstein is dead. the fingerprints of the body in the morgue matched the fingerprints that were taken of Jeffrey Epstein from when he was booked in Florida.
How long does the autopsy typically take from beginning to end?
Normally, about 2 hours, a routine autopsy.
We spoke to multiple pathologists for this story, and they all pretty much agree on one thing, that without knowing the position of the body, the way that Jeffrey Epstein's body was found, it's almost impossible to determine the cause of death with any certainty. Knowing the position that a body was found in is a key piece of evidence in any death investigation. And in this case, we don't know how Jeffrey Epstein's body was found.
We still don't have that information. So if this was called a suicide without all that information, it was a premature judgment.
Dr. Michael Baden is a forensic pathologist who was hired by Mark Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein's brother, to look into the death and to kind of investigate it for the family. The autopsy reveals that Jeffrey Epstein had petechiae, which is burst vessels. Dr. Baden says that's a key indicator that somebody's neck was compressed and that you see it more in a compression than you do see it in a hanging. We know from the autopsy that Jeffrey Epstein had a number of other injuries. There was an injury to the back of his neck and had an injection mark very clearly in his arm. We don't know what that's from. We don't know if that happened at the hospital or if it's something else. We just don't know because we've not been able to get the medical records from inside the MCC.
There were 3 fractures of the neck bones.
Dr. Baden's key reasons for being suspicious about the death of Jeffrey Epstein is the broken hyoid bone and thyroid cartilage.
Tell me about what we're seeing right here. What are we looking at?
Here is the jawbone,
Right, I'm back. Sorry. I just want to talk you through some of this. Am I on the wrong router again? Is it giving you a crap signal? Oh, God, it's not. Okay. Hopefully we're not buffering. Now, so this was, this was 6 years ago. So this doctor was hired by the family because they don't believe that he killed himself. And rightly so. So he's now going to explain how there was 3 fractures. I've noticed in the current, I'm out of breath, sorry, because my asthma is so bad, okay? So sorry if I'm heavy breathing, I don't mean to. So the current stuff, they're always talking about 2 fractures. There was actually 3, okay? And he's going to show you now. It's really, really interesting. There's another one as well that I'm going to play, but this is probably the best one you could watch. There's also one where they talk about how it's actually a CBS video as well that I want to show you. And they talk about the cellmate and they go into detail on how Epstein said that his cellmate had tried to kill him. We're also going to watch the footage that's just come out because none of the cameras were working that night. And just conveniently, none of the cameras were working. Apart from one. And none of the ones that are on his cell block were working. But the one that is working, you can see an orange figure going towards Epstein's cell and not return. So we'll get into that as well. So let's just continue watching this doctor. This is the guy that everyone's talking about now, saying, oh, he says that they need another investigation. He said this years ago. And people say, oh, well, he's working for the family. He's going to say this. No, he just wants to get to the truth. So let's him explain these neck fractures.
The jawbone of the mandible, the lower bone in the head. And underneath that, at the bottom, are the clavicles and the breastbone where the muscles insert. The red are all muscles. The hyoid bone is a small bone here just above the Adam's apple, which is the thyroid cartilage. And in Jeffrey Epstein's autopsy, there were fractures of the left, the right thyroid cartilage, and the left hyoid bone, all requiring different kinds of pressure and positioning of the noose, of the ligature.
One of the pathologists we spoke to absolutely agreed with Dr. Baden and says, yes, that's very suspicious to have all 3 of those bones broken, the cartilage broken. Another pathologist we spoke to wasn't as convinced and said it doesn't necessarily indicate homicide. The doctor who performed the autopsy, while Dr. Michael Baden observed, came to the determination that it was inconclusive and they needed more evidence, more information. And then a couple days later, they changed that and determined that the cause of death was suicide by hanging. We reached out to the New York City Medical Examiner, but they would not speak to us, presumably because there's an ongoing investigation, but we haven't heard back from that office.
In the
Now, before we move on, the reason why this is another thing. Because the two officers who were working there didn't do their job, and they're supposed to have checked every 30 minutes and they didn't, they blamed it on being tired and overtime, whatnot. Now, because they're investigating them, it has covered anyone being able to ask any questions, so that every time any news organisation asks any questions, they are told, oh, well, it's an active investigation, so we can't talk about it. So I haven't looked into if anything ever happened to these two people that work there. I doubt it ever did, but I need to do a bit more digging. So I'm going to keep watching this, and then we're going to move on to the next one. This guy, though, they're going to try and bump him off, I reckon. If he's not already. I need to check he's not been bumped off, but I don't think he has. Oh yeah, I just want to say this as well. Listen to this, just quickly, something I've just remembered from yesterday when I watched this video, not this one. The guy who was the cellmate with Epstein, who Epstein said tried to kill him a few days before his apparent unaliving, he just happened to die of a cardiac arrest a few months later. So they bumped him off. Now, I believe that they got him to try and kill Epstein, and he failed. And then they took him to they removed him from his cell, and Epstein went to see a psychiatrist or psychologist that day or the day before, and he said that this cellmate tried to kill him, and I am not suicidal. That is in the documents. I showed that on the last stream or the stream before. He said it. He's not suicidal. This guy tried to kill him. This guy got released and then died of a cardiac arrest. I believe that they paid him to do it, and he failed, and they didn't want him talking. Notice how they drop like flies around this. Let's continue.
pictures of the cell, there are multiple nooses. The fact that the medical examiner sketched one noose, this is the noose they think was responsible for killing Jeffrey Epstein.
Yes, this would be the ligature, the noose that was involved in causing the death. Mm-hmm. That's why it was sketched.
Here it says on here, it appears to say folded. The edge is folded here.
One of the things we have heard is that the guard that found Jeffrey Epstein cut him down, which you'd seem to indicate somebody cutting down a noose or something. If you look at the noose that the medical examiner examined, and you look very closely at the edges, it appears perfectly hemmed. It doesn't look like anybody ever took scissors to it. So there is some question, is that the right noose? The difficulties with this story is because they charged two guards, there is a firewall and you cannot get information because you go to the Department of Justice, you go to the FBI and say, hey, what's going on here? And they said, there's an ongoing criminal investigation. We can't tell you anything. That's made it especially difficult. We've had to rely to people on the ground and sources placed throughout the story. We have examined many photos, looked at the evidence, and talked to so many people, but we still have many questions, and we're looking forward to getting more answers.
So that was a really, really good piece of evidence there. And that was only like a 5-minute clip. So I'm just going to pop the link in there for you. Okay. So hang on a sec. Should be able to see me now. There we go. Right then, who's still here? We've got 30. We did have 40. We've got 34 watching. I hope you're enjoying the content. Right, I'm just going to look for this video I want to show you, because the one that I'm going to show you next, it goes into a lot more detail about the guy who he was actually in a cell with. But I do really think that it's very convenient that the cellmate just happened to kill himself. I don't know. What do you reckon? How are we getting on so far? Almost there now. Right. Right, I think this is it here. No, it's not. I'm just looking for this video. Here we go. Now, this is CBS. Oh, it's not available. What the hell? How interesting. Some of these mainstream medias, I was actually very, very surprised about how they could have been a lot worse. Right, now, this is from 2020, January 2020. Let me just grab this up. Apologies. Still trying to find the video. Another one that was really, really weird as well was that it never underwent proper inspection. Right, here we go. Here's the video here. Now, it's a CBS one, and I wouldn't normally show anything from the mainstream media, but I do think that we should be watching this because it's got some really, really good stuff in it. So here we go. I'll be pausing throughout, obviously.
Morning of August 10th, 2019, convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein was discovered dead in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Lower Manhattan. Then U.S. Attorney General Bill Barr ordered an immediate investigation.
We will get to the bottom of what happened, and there will be accountability.
Several days later, the chief medical examiner of New York City ruled his death a suicide. But major questions remain, including how and even with what he may have killed himself. Our review of the evidence uncovered troubling inconsistencies.
Really interesting this is, okay? Let me just find the date of this video. Don't think it's that old. 4 months ago, all right? So this was after one of the file drops, one of the recent file drops. I'd say this is probably the most interesting one I've watched so far.
And points to major problems in the government's handling of the case. More than 6 years later, key details of Jeffrey Epstein's death remain unresolved and unknown. CBS News' 60 Minutes first obtained 90 crime scene photos tied to the U.S. Justice Department's 2023 final report. Those photos, taken by New York's office.
Now, all these come out in not the last drop, but the drop last year. So if you look here, if you look at all of these, he had a CPAP machine as well. I don't know if you guys knew this. Now look at all these sheets. Now, he's supposed to be on suicide watch. You wouldn't have all of these sheets, and you certainly wouldn't be alone. Now, remember, this wasn't even like his final cell. He was going to stand trial. He was like being held here, awaiting trial. And this is why I believe he's dead, because they could not have him at trial. It just was not going to happen ever. If he would have been on the trial stand, he would have given away, he would have thrown them all under the bus. They knew that bumping him off was going to look blatantly obvious, but they also knew that they couldn't allow him to stand trial, which is why his death was so rushed. It wasn't done in a way that these things happen. They're usually done a lot neater. They just wanted him gone. They knew that it was going to be a massive fallout, and they were just going to blame the guards, blame the cameras not working. It shows of desperation by them, that the people that wanted this covered up, and they did not want him on the stand, no matter what. He thought that he was never going to be standing trial. Epstein genuinely believed, in my opinion, that he was going to get straight off with this and he was just going to be released. And because when he was done in 2008, he got 13 months and he didn't even serve it all. He was off. He did a sweetheart deal, and they never even told his victims about this. So he thought he was untouchable and that he was just going to, get arrested, go off again and appear back. He was not expecting this, and they were not expecting this. And they knew they had to shut this guy up. So this is the cell. We're going to watch some more now. So there's no guard checking every half an hour. Now, reports say that he was taken off suicide watch because they're saying he wasn't suicidal, which again contradicts itself. He told his psychiatrist that he was not suicidal just the day before. But if he wasn't suicidal, then okay then. So he didn't kill himself then. He said that someone tried to kill him, that his cellmate tried to kill him. He wasn't suicidal. But he was still in a high-risk wing, and he should not have been left alone. They're supposed to have a cellmate. Right, here we go. Let's watch some more.
Of the chief medical examiner raise more questions than they answer. Some of these images are being released here for the first time. Crime scene experts who reviewed them were sharply critical, saying Epstein's cell should have been treated like a crime scene. And by all appearances, it wasn't. I'm CBS News correspondent Scott McFarland. Here's what we know.
Epstein's body was discovered at 6:30 a.m. when corrections officers arrived at his cell to deliver breakfast. According to the only witness who saw him hanging, a corrections officer named Michael Thomas, Epstein was allegedly found suspended from the top of the bunk in a near-seated position with his legs straight out and his buttocks approximately 1 inch to 1.5 inches off the floor. Internal memos obtained by CBS News describe him as cold, and no palpable pulses were felt. In total, we've reviewed 90 photos of the scene and the evidence allegedly found there.
I've got to keep stopping it because obviously I'm reviewing their video. It's not my video. There is so much evidence in here. It's unbelievable. And there's so much more to cover as well. I am literally going to be doing a series of videos, and when I've covered the latest file drop, I'm going to be moving this to the Curious Bunny channel, because I'm going to be going down deeper stuff, because I want to keep this channel for politics and a bit of news and entertainment. So there'll only be like another one on here, and then I'll be going back to news and politics, and I'll be moving this over to my other channel. But some of the stuff is so deep. I don't know what this is. It looks like, I'm not sure if this is sulfuric acid, but I found a drop today in the files where he was procuring large amounts of sulfuric acid for his island. Why would he do that? I think we all know why.
Here's what those photos show. The sequence of photos starts with a picture of the stairs leading up to Epstein's tier, Tier L. Underlying data from the photo shows it was taken at 9:34 a.m.
See, this is where metadata comes in handy. This is metadata. So when you take a picture of your camera, you can very easily pull the information from it, approximately where it was taken, the time, the date, and even the time. So they've pulled this off. Now look at the time where they've taken these photos. It's very important. Look how after it is than when they actually allegedly found his body. I personally think he died the night before. I don't know. That's my thinking, but let's continue.
Hours after his body was discovered, and 4 hours before the arrival of the FBI on scene. Next in the sequence is a picture of the tier. According to the official FBI Handbook of Crime Scene Investigation, investigators should establish a progression of overall, medium, and close-up views of the crime scene. This is the only photo of the tier from that morning, and Epstein's cell, located to the right, is not pictured.
Some really shoddy work here, if you can even call it that. I mean, there's an absence of work here.
Nick Barrero is a former law enforcement officer and digital forensic expert.
You always start with the big picture. For example, the socks on the floor in that hallway right there. If you're documenting that piece of evidence, well, one, you would put a little teepee, a little evidence marker on it, a little yellow number 1 or whatever next to it. And then you would photograph it from as far away as you can. And then you go in and you take one maybe, a couple steps away from the socks, getting it more in context. And then you get right up, as close as reasonable. So it's you see as much detail as possible, and you take that shot. That's like evidence photography 101.
You can also see on the back wall one of the prison cameras. It was streaming but not recording due to a hard drive malfunction that had been identified but not fixed.
Yes, so the camera that was streaming the actual corridor where his cell was, which his cell was just the first on the right down here where the socks were, was streaming but not working. Now, the hard drives apparently had been reported that they were broken and nobody had fixed them. But the question remains is, even if they were streaming and not recording, why wasn't nobody watching them? It doesn't make any sense, but let's continue.
According to the Department of Justice report. Next is a blurry image of the door to Epstein's cell, number 220. Running underneath the door is a cable that provided power to a device meant to help him sleep, a CPAP machine. According to prison records, Epstein had initially been assigned to a cell in a different tier, but he was moved here for easier access to an outlet. Prison computer systems were never updated to note that move, according to investigators. On the door, you can see a piece of paper. Later photos show this up close. It's a printout with Epstein's personal details and a black and white picture. This was how prison employees knew who was in the cell.
So he was moved, and they never updated the systems on which cell he was in. Let's continue.
Above that, in a similar plastic slip, is the ID card for Epstein's former roommate, Efrain Reyes.
This is the guy that he said tried to kill him a few days before. I genuinely do really believe that this guy did try to kill him, and they paid him and he failed.
Cells typically hold 2 inmates, and following a suspected suicide attempt, Epstein was mandated to have one.
And he'd gone a day or two before. His card is still on the door. You know, are they that inept at this jail? Or is it all just bull crap? You know, it's surely they're not that stupid. They can't update records. They can't take tags off doors. None of the cameras work. They don't do their cell checks. There's just so much here that makes it blatantly obvious that there's more to this. Even the most hardened skeptic can't deny that this is all too convenient for this to have happened.
The day before Epstein's death, Reyes had been transferred out of the prison and brought to another facility. Former Bureau of Prisons officials were surprised to see Reyes's card still on the door. They're meant to confirm the identity of inmates as they're transferred and should have stayed with Reyes or the officers processing his transfer.
See? He was transferred apparently. Why was his ID card not with him? He was removed without his ID card. It was still on the door. I don't think that this guy was ever transferred to another facility, because if he was, we would know where that facility was and his ID card would have been with him. I think they bumped him straight off and then they pronounced him dead a few months later from a cardiac arrest.
Investigators said Reyes' transfer was key because it left Epstein alone in his cell, giving him the opportunity to hang himself. The Department of Justice determined the failure to assign Epstein a new roommate was potentially a fatal mistake. Next, we see the inside of Epstein's cell. There's a bunk bed, a toilet, and a small table attached to the floor. On the floor is the CPAP machine. There are at least 6 blankets or sheets strewn about, and prison policy should have allowed only 1 blanket and 1 sheet per inmate. On the table is a pen, a violation of prison policy, and an MP3 player and headphones, a bag for a CPAP mask, as well as several other items. Under the bunk bed is an unidentified object that could be a suitcase. Along it is a pipe similar to the one attached to the CPAP machine. Neither of those items are noted or documented in publicly available reports. One hallmark of the scene is that numerous items appear to...
You see how bad this is? There was no real crime scene. It wasn't classed as a crime scene. None of it was classed as a crime scene. They announced suicide instantly, even before the post-mortem. And as you'll see further on, the post-mortem actually they were not known. It was like a pending. It was pending on, they wasn't sure. But a couple of days later, the medical examiner said, right, no, it's suicide. All very, like somebody had told them to. But yeah, none of this, like you've got items here that are found in the cell that were never even documented in paperwork. It's just shoddy. The reason why it's shoddy is not because they're all useless. It's because they know that it's all fake. He never killed himself, so they don't need... If he genuinely killed himself, right, They would be in a mad panic about the way that they'd left the pen there, that they'd left the sheets there. They would be document it. They would turn it into a crime scene to sue the people that were in charge. But they know that the people in charge didn't mess up. They'd let this person in to do this to him, and they had no interest in having to go after anybody. They still haven't even they still won't admit that he was murdered when it's blatantly obvious, and so much evidence is saying that he was, more than ever. So much evidence. Why Donald Trump keeps saying he wants the truth? Why isn't he coming out and asking for an investigation into his death? I don't trust anybody at this point.
Be moved before all the photos have been taken. Case in point, these socks. Earlier we saw them down the hall, yet now a pair appears in front of his door.
They've been kicked down the road. No one's... You couldn't make this up. You could not make this up.
Experts say this is reflective of poor crime scene control.
But like I said earlier, they knew that this was planned to happen. They didn't expect it to ever be investigated because they were told they were just going to put it down as a suicide and move on. They didn't even pretend to do their job because they knew that it was all going to happen. That's why I think it's all been shoddily done. And these people are so arrogant, they can't understand why we're not letting this go. Well, we're not letting this go, and we're going to keep going. And I'm hoping that one day we'll get the truth, because they did not want him testifying.
Next is a photo of the bunk bed again from a different angle. You can see an orange string hanging. This is one of several orange fabric pieces that appear throughout the room, as well as an additional evidence collected by the medical examiner. None of those are confirmed to be the noose that he hung himself with. In the Department of Justice Inspector General report, that picture is featured alongside the description of how he was found, suggesting investigators believe that was the string he used to hang himself.
So which is the string? Because they keep on showing these different pieces of cloth when nothing says which one is apparently what he hung himself with. And also, how would you hang yourself from that little bunk bed there? Like, how ridiculous can they get? This says, for those of you that can't read it because it's quite small, photograph of piece of orange cloth hanging from the bunk bed in Epstein's cell following his death. Thomas explained that when he first entered the cell, this is the guy that apparently found him, Epstein had an orange string, presumably from a sheet or a shirt, around his neck. The end of the string was tied to the top portion of the bunk bed. Epstein was suspended from the top bunk in a near seated position, with his buttocks approximately 1 inch to 1.5 inch from the floor, his legs extended out straight on the floor. Thomas said Epstein did not look discoloured or very different from when he last seen him. So he's saying that he didn't have that big bloated red face that we've seen in pictures. So another discrepancy. Thomas said he immediately ripped the orange sheet or shirt from the bunk bed, and Epstein's buttocks dropped approximately 1 inch to 1.5 inch to the ground. So they're saying he strangled himself hardly off the floor. Thomas then lowered Epstein's entire body to the floor because he did not believe Epstein was breathing. Thomas immediately began providing chest compressions until responding MCC New York staff members arrived approximately 1 minute later. So did he call for them? There's no mention of him calling them. Thomas said he did not provide rescue breaths and was unaware if Epstein was dead or alive because he never checked for a pulse. He never checked for a pulse. He said that he looked fine. There was no redness, no bloating in the face. It looked totally normal. He thought he was dead, but he never checked for a pulse, or he never did CPR. It's madness. He never did the breath thing, you know. Unaware if he was dead or alive. He never checked for a pulse before initiating chest compressions. Thomas said medical personnel took over, including chest compressions and use of an automated external defibrillator. When they arrived, Thomas said he assisted with bringing Epstein down to the health services unit on the 2nd floor, and that he left the MCC New York at approximately 8 a.m. So he literally went home just after. Thomas said he had received cardiopulmonary resuscitation training during the MCC New York annual refresher training and had responding to medical emergencies in the past. But this was the first time he was the first responder. Thomas said he was present in the SHU for his entire shift on August the 10th until 12 a.m, until the time he attempted to deliver breakfast to Epstein at approximately 6:30 a.m, and did not see anyone go inside during the cell on his shift. Thomas said that he would have known if somebody went in or out of Epstein's cell, and no one did. Thomas told the OIG that he could see Epstein's door cell from his shift from his officer's station, but he could not see inside the cell from that vantage point. So let's continue.
But if that was the case, and the room wasn't disturbed before the photographer arrived, he would have been sitting on mattresses, not the floor. You can see that there are actually 2 mattresses on the floor, as well as additional blankets, sleeping on the floor.
You couldn't make this up. So he's supposed to be an inch or 2 off the floor and to hang himself, but there's mattresses on the floor. So 1, he was sat on mattresses and therefore he couldn't have hung himself, or 2, they've moved the room around, before, which again they're not supposed to do. You could not make this shit up, folks.
Having 2 mattresses were both violations of policy. You can see additional orange fabric,
Did you
perhaps
hear that?
clothing or ripped.
Having more than 2 mattresses was against policy. So listen to that bit again.
Sitting on mattresses, not the floor. You can see that there are actually 2 mattresses on the floor, as well as additional blankets. Sleeping on the floor and having 2 mattresses were both violations of policy. You can see additional orange fabric, perhaps clothing or ripped sheets, wedged between the wall and the mattress, but there was no documentation of those items. Next are several photos showing a close-up of a note. On one side of the folded paper, it said, "Davis kept me in a locked shower for 1 hour. Noel sent me burnt food. Giant bugs crawling over my hands. No fun." It's not clear who Davis is. Noel likely refers to Tova Noel, one of the corrections officers on duty. The next photo is the other side of the folded piece of paper. There's some indecipherable writing, and underneath that, the name Reyes, Epstein's roommate, and Reyes's to Tova Noel, one of the corrections officers on duty. The next photo is the other side of the folded piece of paper.
Right, so they're saying they couldn't read this. Jail, hang on.
There's some indecipherable.
It's a cream there. So, yeah, zoo something, FLD, jail out something. Jail out, 10 is the date that he died. Is he saying that he's getting out on that day when he died? Not the something. Let's watch some
Decipherable writing, and underneath that, the name Reyes, Epstein's roommate, and Reyes's prisoner identification number. Next.
Why would he write that down? Why would he write is the guy that he said he tried to kill him? He's written down his prison identification number and his name. I do genuinely believe this guy tried to kill him.
To that is a name and number. CBS News has determined this is Reyes's uncle, who declined to comment. Epstein's brother confirmed this.
His uncle, the uncle of the person who he said tried to kill him, and his phone number. Epstein's brother's called Mark.
Was his handwriting. According to a Bureau of Prisons investigation, Epstein
his
had
brother has confirmed,
Next.
Mark Epstein has confirmed that is Epstein's, Jeffrey's handwriting.
That is a name and number. CBS News has determined this is Reyes's uncle, who declined to comment. Epstein's brother confirmed this was his handwriting. According to a Bureau of Prisons investigation, Epstein had been making payments to Reyes's prison commissary account through one of his lawyers. It's common in prison for inmates to pay bribes.
Did you hear that? He was paying money to the cellmate who tried to kill him. He was paying money into his account. And that this was apparently normal. Yeah, look. Archibald, Alabama, this is just other cases. Alabama can't stop prisoners from extorting families on the outside. Protection money, common for inmate families. So I'm just going to go back slightly and listen to that bit again.
Uncle, who declined to comment. Epstein's brother confirmed this was his handwriting. According to a Bureau of Prisons investigation, Epstein had been making payments to Reyes's prison commissary account through one of his lawyers. It's common in prison for inmates to pay bribes to individuals outside of prison for protection. Reyes died of cardiac arrest in 2020, soon after being released from prison. Court documents indicate he had...
There you go. He died. Cardiac arrest. So nobody could question this Reyes guy on whether what actually happened. Did you really try and kill him? Did someone pay you to try and kill him? Tell us what happened. Oh, he's dead. So the government writes to respectfully oppose the New York Daily News, the reporter, from the 29th of December notion to unseal the change of plea and sentencing scripts and the parties' sentencing submissions in the case of defendant Reyes. So he was obviously trying to change his plea. He brings this application on the basis that Mr. Reyes, who sadly passed away November 2020, is the subject of public interest because he was the last person to share a cell with Jeffrey Epstein. Mr. Brown, so that was a reporter, had already learnt and publicised that Mr. Reyes agreed to cooperate with the feds on his narcotics case. So they were going for this reporter. My chest, wow. And the cooperative and was cooperative with agents investigating the Epstein matter. As discussed below, however, the Reyes documents contain virtually no additional information about Epstein, the stated issue of public interest, and then they've redacted that there. So another one turns up dead. Cardiac arrest, that's probably the easiest thing for them to fake. They give them one of those little injections that you can't see an injection site and bring on a cardiac arrest. Another thing as well, I'm not sure whether this gets into it, but I think it might do, is that Epstein was found with marks on his face. I'm not sure if this video covers it, but in case it doesn't, he was found with marks on his face, like somebody had attacked him, marks round his neck, not from the so-called hanging, and was an injection mark in his arm. And nobody knows whether the injection mark came during the resuscitation or whatever, or was found like that. I believe that he was given an injection to sedate him whilst he was murdered. Take care, Amethyst. I'm just seeing the chat now. I have gone late tonight, but I had a few things to do. Apologies for why I'm so late, guys. Hi, Freeside. This will be up for everyone to watch. So it'll be left up. Again, sorry I'm a little bit late with this. I like to go a bit earlier on a Sunday, so it's my fault. Sorry.
Been cooperating with authorities in a federal case against a drug ring. There appears to be writing on the other side of the paper, but that wasn't photographed. The next series of photos are additional pictures of the bunk bed, showing the rope in detail and blankets strewn about, and a close-up of a different cloth that appears to be tied in a loop.
They were going to use that one, I reckon. They were going to try and use that one to say that, because they won't say which one was the apparent hanging rope. So they were going to go for that one, I reckon.
An entirely different room, although it's not clear where. We can see a defibrillator.
A different room. They've photographed a different room. Listen to this. I'm just going to put that back slightly. Okay. This is amazing stuff.
Additional pictures of the bunk bed, showing the rope in detail and blankets strewn about, and a close-up of a different cloth that appears to be tied in a loop. Next, we jump to an entirely different room, although it's not clear where. We can see a defibrillator and an orange cloth tied to a noose-like shape. Comparing the floor, you can see that this is not Epstein's cell.
They're literally photographing another cell with these cloths on the floor and saying that that was where he... They're literally, you can tell this whole thing is staged. And the people that are staging it are terrible. Awful at doing this. Yeah, good night, Amethyst. Don't have nightmares, will you, love? I know it's morbid stuff, ain't it?
Defibrillator had been brought out to be used on Epstein in his cell and then again in a medic station at the prison where employees had transported his body. This cloth did not appear in earlier photos in his room.
Why is this cloth there? So if this is where's this? If this is the medic station, for example, we've got a defibrillator there. Are they trying to say that they pulled this off his neck? Therefore, they said they cut him down from it. So just constant inconsistencies. It's absolutely ludicrous. And why isn't that Pam Bondi reinvestigating all of this? It just shows they don't want to.
According to the Department of Justice investigators, when the officer discovered Epstein, he said he immediately ripped the orange sheet or shirt away from the bunk bed. The other officer on the scene told investigators she heard Thomas call out for her to retrieve the cutter, and then she heard Thomas rip something. Going back to the photo of the noose, you can see the end of the noose is hemmed, which suggests it wasn't ripped down and was not the noose that Thomas discovered Epstein hanging from. There is no indication of where the noose was found.
Where's this? Apparently it was ripped down. Well, there wasn't any ripped nooses found in any of these photos. They're just making stuff up and hoping for the best. Guys, how you doing? What are people saying in the live chat? Let me just get some comments up. Amethyst has gone to bed. Good night, sweetheart. Everyone's saying good night. What do you guys think of this? Is there anything new that you're finding out here? Are you finding this interesting? Let me know in the comments. If you watch on the replay, we've got the replay crew, then let me know there as well. If you're enjoying this content, deeper dives. The next one will be covering all the Mandelson stuff, because I want to keep this on politics. All the Mandelson stuff, and anything relating to the current, what's going on in the news. And then further deeper dives will all be on the Curious Bunny. If you're really interested in the Epstein stuff, we'll be moving over there. This channel will be continuing with the current nonsense of what's happening in politics in the UK. It's absolutely bonkers what's going on. Every day, Keir Starmer does stuff that's even more insane than the day before. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it and finding it interesting.
A diagram of this noose was included in the official autopsy. However, the Department of Justice acknowledged in their report the noose depicted is not the ligature Epstein...
See, the noose that they drew on the official autopsy... Take care, is Rach going as well? Take care, Rach, love. Everyone's going off. It's because it's so late, isn't it? How you doing, Yvonne? The noose that they drew a picture of isn't even the noose, and the picture of the noose isn't the noose. So where is this elusive noose? The noose is on the loose.
Used to kill himself. The next photo appears to be back in Epstein's cell. Now we see a CPAP mask. This was not visible in earlier photos, nor was this card or photo or these boxes.
What's that then? Hang on.
Most of those items are not seen again in the medical autopsy.
These things that have been in these photos weren't documented and were never seen again. Like, what? If this was a real suicide, folks, they would be 1,000,000% really shit hot on this, because they'd be like, shit, this has happened on our watch. We need to do everything by the book. They knew that it wasn't. But I just want to
However, the Department of Justice acknowledged in their report the noose depicted is not the ligature Epstein used to kill himself. The next photo appears to be back.
What's that? Let me just do a screenshot. Hold on. The hell is that? It looks like a horse, is it? With a woman? It's a man with his chest out and a woman behind him. It's not a horse, it's just how it looks. And then there's a box here. I don't know what that is.
An Epstein cell. Now we see a CPAP mask. This was not visible in earlier photos, nor was this card or photo or these boxes. Most of those items are not seen again in the medical examiner's photographs.
This is essentially a useless evidence photograph, because it's like, okay, this was there somewhere at some time, but we have no idea how or why it ended up in the position that it's in. You would fail your police academy scenario if you did this. Like, there's no investigation here.
Is this the mattress now on its end? And these items were underneath.
You would fail your police academy. You have to laugh because it's so bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers that this is... Me and you guys here could do a better crime scene photo and investigation than these so-called professionals. And you know, a lot of this happened before the FBI turned up as well. The FBI didn't turn up for hours after, you know. There's an elusive noose loose about the hoose, says Susan. It's not letting me show you with the comment up. It's only let me show the last 5 comments. It is depressing. It's depressing. I know it's depressing, guys. I know. Look, guys, I'm moving on after this one. Moving this to the other channel so you can look, start watching Keir Starmer again and all that nonsense. But I am going to be doing a deep dive on Mandelson and all this stuff with Starmer. Anyone who knows anything about these Ukrainian rent boys as well, let me know, please.
Not
I know
clear.
we caught in April, but that's all I know.
Looking at the metadata, the photo appears to have been taken at 10:54.
Here we go, metadata again. This is where it can come in handy. So these pictures were taken over an hour after the last pictures. Okay, just bear that in mind.
Yeah, if that's accurate, that means the entire crime scene had been disturbed several hours before FBI investigators even arrived.
Yeah, there you go. I was just saying, the FBI came at 25 to 2 on the afternoon. So they disturbed and moved things around in the cell before the FBI came. You know, you just couldn't make this shit up, folks.
Next, there are some additional details of the room, including a small piece of cloth attached to the window. Following that, we see a series of photos of medication being held by an investigator.
Milk and magnesia. We've got, what does that say? I can't read that. It begins with a T. Vitamin C. Don't know what that is. It's some sort of prescription medication. Gosh, there's a lot of medication here. Multivitamins. Pain relief, I'm guessing like paracetamol, Advil, I think they call it over there. More prescription medication. But did you notice that little bit of orange cloth on the cell? You know what that is, don't you? That's they were gonna use the fake hanging to be on the cell, and they changed their minds. That's what that was.
One item appears to be the same packaging seen on the floor in the earlier photo.
Antifungal. That looks like thrush cream. Medicated cream. Yeah, burning athlete's foot. That is like a fungal thrush cream. It's the same active ingredient as what you get in like your Caniston stuff.
We can also note there are now 2 mattresses stacked on...
They've all changed again. All the pictures have been changed before the FBI came. You couldn't make this shit up. Look at this. They've moved the mattresses off the floor, look. And this was empty before.
On top of the bed, suggesting that the entire room has been reorganized.
Wow.
With no documentation of that process or where things were moved from. Here's how the room was found. Here's how it looks 90 minutes later.
Wow.
Remember, the FBI still has not arrived on scene. It appears the items that have been photographed in detail are now placed on top of the bunk bed. Where they came from is not clear.
Yeah.
In a second sequence.
Were they from the room? Were these medication from the room? This is all in the latest drop, by the way. Well, the not the latest drop, but the last big drop. I think it was September, the last big drop.
The photos labeled path evidence. We see evidence bags and evidence. The metadata indicates these were taken 5 days later. The first photo is a bag of evidence that says it contained...
5 days later, guys, this now. Collected by Kathleen Ligu. The date, the 10th. Date of collection. Time of collection. Metropolitan Correction Centre. Specialist Housing Unit. Yeah, because he was on specialist watch. So these were photoed 5 days later. But they were supposed to collected that day.
Signature bedsheet material strip collected from the Metropolitan Correction Center, cell number 220. There are also 2 additional bags marked Epstein clothing and Epstein bedding. The ligature previously seen on the ground in a room that was not Epstein's cell is now photographed alongside the bag.
Wow. So those nooses that were blatantly found in a different room have now been put alongside his stuff. These people are not this stupid. This is just more proof that it's all fake. It's all a setup, and they just didn't think anybody was going to actually notice, because that's the arrogance. It's like the COVID scam. They didn't think that anybody was going to actually like question what they did, because it's the arrogance of these people. They're so arrogant. They're complete sociopaths. But not all of us fell for their nonsense.
Again, you can see the end of the cloth has not been torn or cut. The medical examiner
Let's
also
not forget, it's supposed to be ripped down, and there's not a mark on it. So what is it?
collected this blanket. You can see that it was ripped along the edge. The final evidence photos are Epstein's clothing that had been returned from the hospital.
Why is everybody... I know they wear orange, but I didn't realise they wore orange knickers and orange socks and orange clothes. I thought they just wore like an orange suit. Everything is orange. What? The bedding, the knickknacks, everything. It's orange.
Included in that are plastic zip tie handcuffs. This photo, taken that morning, shows his hands are cuffed.
Now, warning, viewer discretion advised, you're going to see his body now, but this does look really fake to me. This is very important, okay? Listen to what he says here.
While it may have made sense to restrain Epstein, given he had not been officially declared dead, the Department of Justice report makes no mention of it. According to prison sources, staff had access to handcuffs, which were the standard tool for inmates.
Why would you use zip ties? Now, let's not forget, he found him. Let's remember back to the early report that was not long ago, I was just reading, that he found him with no puffy face, no red on his face, so no obvious signs. They said he didn't even take his pulse, but he looked dead. He had handcuffs on him. Why would you use zip ties on somebody who you think is dead, even though you took a pulse, and you had handcuffs? This makes no sense. I don't think this is his body. I think this is the dummy.
Transport, not zip ties. Department of Justice investigators interviewed 3 inmates on the tier. 2 of them were in the cell across from Epstein's. But one unusual thing to note from an earlier photo, that cell had its windows papered over. That photograph was time-stamped 9:34 a.m., 3 hours after Epstein's body was discovered, although it's unknown when the paper was put up. In the government.
Interesting. So they've put paper over the guy opposite cell so he couldn't see, so he couldn't look out into the hallway. And that photo was that they didn't expect people to look at the metadata of these photos. Isn't it just, Stephen? It's total bonkers, isn't it? So if you wanna do something and you don't want others to see, you paper over the windows. You just couldn't make this shit up. I'm just going to read this now. Right, then we turn to the electronics technician believed he was in the SHU, which is the unit where Epstein was, prior to 7 a.m. and until approximately 8 a.m. He was not positive with regard to the times. Well, you would be. The electronics technician said he delivered food to the inmates on one tier, while the morning watch operations lieutenant did the same on another tier, while Noel unlocked the doors outside of the tiers for the electronics technician. Why was an electronics technician delivering food, I wonder? And the morning watch operations lieutenant. The electronics technician said that when they were delivering food to the inmates, he heard inmates saying, listen to this, "You killed him." Okay, so this guy, this technician guy delivering food, heard the inmates saying, "You killed him. You weren't making rounds." I'm quoting here, "You killed him." The electrician's technician told the OIG that the inmates also said Thomas and Noel, they're the guards, just sat at the SHU officer station and never checked on the inmates. The electronics technician told the OIG he understood the inmates to be saying that Thomas and Noel were responsible for Epstein's death because they had not conducted rounds. he believed that he took his own life. Well, no, they were shouting they killed him, not because they couldn't be bothered to do the checks. It's blatantly obvious. Well, they were shouting that, surely.
Government's report, those inmates were key witnesses in affirming the corrections officer accounts. One of those inmates in that cell said he observed a male CO, or corrections officer, enter into the cell and begin performing CPR. He said he saw Epstein on the floor and saw the guard emerge holding a rope and a defibrillator. He said he saw bruising on Epstein's face and earphones on his ears. Experts noted that removing a noose while the headphones remained in Epstein's ears would have been a particular challenge. A second inmate in
Yeah, he had his earphones on. So how did they get the noose over his head? They haven't. This was so rushed. They didn't have time to do it perfectly, which is why I said I believe he's dead. If he wasn't dead, they would have done this a lot better. If this was a fake death, it would have been done with precision. This was a rushed bumping off, in my opinion, because they didn't want him to speak to his psychiatrist any longer, because he told him that he wasn't suicidal, and they knew that he was about to testify. Look what happened with old Ghislaine. She went missing for about a year. Do you remember all that? She disappeared after this. They only found her, like, we were hunting her down. We found her in a cafe, I remember at the time. And then they arrested her, and then she's on trial. Well, she's done trial now. Apparently she's now could be involved in the 9/11 Commission. She's actually mentioned in the Epstein files to do with 9/11. It's all bonkers. I'll go deeper into that on the other channel. But yeah, it's surreal, isn't it? It doesn't seem real.
that same cell said he saw the officer enter and shake Epstein, then try to pick him up and fall over, then begin giving chest compressions.
Sorry, what now? Tried to pick him up from behind. How could he try and pick him up from behind if he was against the bed? Let's not forget the pictures that we've seen where the rope is against the bed and he's apparently sat down from the bed an inch off the floor, even though there was 2 mattresses on the floor, which they've forgotten that they've taken the pictures of. It's just bonkers. Now they're saying he tried to pick him up from behind. How? He's against a bed, which is against a wall.
That prisoner also said they saw staff put Epstein on a stretcher, still wearing headphones. He also says he saw a male corrections officer emerge from Epstein's cell holding a sheet with a loop and a knot. So what did the FBI do? The Inspector General report says the FBI inspected the cell and retrieved what it believed to be relevant to its investigation into the cause of Epstein's death, which included 1 torn sheet, miscellaneous papers, and an MP3 player. The Inspector General report doesn't include documentation of those items or what analysis was done on them. It does say the linens were recycled and the remaining personal articles in the room were collected by the Bureau of Prisons.
Did you hear that? The linen was recycled. They reused it on other cellmates. They recycled it, so it's no longer there. You couldn't make this shit up. They reused the linen. So that says, I'm looking, according to a memorandum attached to the form, after Noel called the medical emergency, the correctional systems officer received a call from staff in the SHU, which is the unit that he was on, instructing her to call 911 for an ambulance. The correctional systems officer notified the New York Police Department via the MCC New York institutional telephone. The correctional systems officer then informed NYPD that the MCC New York needed an ambulance and a medical assistance for one of the inmates. I'm just reading this now, it's really, really small. At 6:43 a.m. and were escorted to the 2nd floor medical area. Right, so yeah, they recycled the linens. You couldn't make this up, as if they would do that. No, they got rid of them because there was probably so much evidence on them.
It's not clear what happened to those items. Lawyers who control Epstein's estate did not respond to inquiries. From the report, it doesn't appear that an official FBI crime scene investigator ever visited the scene, documented any items, or ran fingerprint or DNA tests on anything in the room. Again, the Department of Justice declined to comment.
The FBI literally has all of the best tools. I mean, spared no expense. They have every tool you can imagine. and they used none of it, as far as we can tell.
It's absolutely true that suicides by hanging in prisons do happen. We've reached out to the office of the chief medical examiner, as well as former and current staff involved in the investigation, the doctor who pronounced Epstein dead, all of the guards working that night, the EMTs who transported him, the Bureau of Prisons, the FBI, the Department of Justice, and others. All declined to comment or did not respond.
I bet they did. So there you go. That was a really interesting video, I think. Let me just get rid of that a sec. Okay, so I've been going an hour and a half, so I'm going to get off in a minute. The other thing I wanted to show you as well before we go. So I think all of that, what I've showed you tonight, kind of tells us and paints a picture from the fact that they said that he was dead the day before, to all of this evidence not being documented or being documented wrongly. There's just so much, there's just too much here for me, I think, for anybody. There's something else I want to show you just quickly before we go. Try and find this picture now, because many people think that he is alive, which he could be. My personal opinion, like I say, is he isn't alive, but that's just my opinion. Let me just find this picture someone sent me the other day. Oh no, they didn't send it me, did they? I found it somewhere. Hold on. So I'm just going to show you this first of all. And this is the very first piece of paper from the author. Right, I'm just going to show this interview and then I'm going to show this piece of paper. Just hold on a sec. I've been on for an hour and a half. I was about to go, but there's still so much I haven't told you about yet. Let me just find this bit of this document. Let me just put this on. This is the interview with the doctor who basically said that the guy that we watched on the first video, he actually did an interview on Fox News. I think this was around 2023 time. He's calling for this to be reopened. I'm just going to play this a couple of minutes long while I find this document before we go.
Since Jeffrey Epstein was found dead in his jail cell here in New York, and still many questions.
How long? Sorry, hang on. Don't know how many months.
Still many questions left unanswered. Famed pathologist Dr. Michael Bodden, who was hired by Epstein's family to look at.
Just see if I've got this going. No, I haven't. Just bear with me. Just trying to find this picture. All right, we'll just leave this on.
Months since Jeffrey Epstein was found dead in his jail cell here in New York, and still many questions left unanswered. Famed pathologist Dr. Michael Bodden, who was hired by Epstein's family to look into the autopsy, is revealing new details from the investigation and the examination, and he joins us live. Dr. Bodden, good morning to you. You say that the answer to whether or not he killed himself could be in his eyes. Explain that.
That helps. That is, with hanging, when the loop comes up under the windpipe, under the mandible, there usually is not any kind of hemorrhages in the eye. With homicidal strangulation, because of the increased pressure, there are hemorrhages in the eye.
And when you examined the body, there were burst capillaries.
There were burst capillaries in the eyes called petechiae, and that's not conclusive, but that's greater evidence of homicide than suicide.
When you hang yourself, what about the
Did you hear that, guys? Burst blood vessels, and it's more conducive with homicide than suicide. Just listen to this again. Yeah, this doctor, as far as I'm aware, is still alive. He was the doctor that the family, that Mark Epstein, the brother of Epstein, and the family hired to investigate the death. And he is saying that this was not suicide.
Than suicide.
When you hang yourself, What about your lower extremities?
When you hang yourself, the blood, the lividity, the blood settles down to the lower legs, and you get maroon discoloration in the front and back of the legs.
Turns purple.
Turns maroonish purple.
Okay.
Yes, maroonish purple.
And
this
were the
was
back
not present here.
What color were they?
They were normal color, normal pale color of the skin.
You know, people listening to this, they go, see, I told you, somebody went in there and killed him.
Well, that's possible. If all you need is one, you don't need a whole lot of people. One bad guy, say, that's why they have to deal with the guards. One guard gives him the key, he opens up his cell, opens up that cell, and nobody knows it because nobody's making rounds.
And how convenient none of that video exists.
That's the problem.
That is kind of a problem. You're troubled by the fact that the medical examiner said, "Oh, look, it's suicide, over and done."
Before.
And now the investigation really isn't going anywhere.
That's right. The investigation is going for security purposes. Barr has made, but not for cause of death. You see.
Why does that trouble you?
It's because that it's 5 months now, and we don't even know the position of the bodies when it was found by the guard.
Right, so that was just a short clip, but what he goes on to say, and I've got the full video somewhere, is that the position of the body is the most important thing, because the position of the body, if he hung himself, the position is got to be in a certain place. If he didn't hang himself, the position can't be in this place. So that is a simple way of finding out whether he hung himself, regardless of all this other evidence. They will not put on the medical report the position they found him in. They refuse to put it. Why? I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand. They won't put it. And that's why I think that regardless of all that evidence, they won't tell you how they found the body. They're saying he found an inch off the floor. And then they're saying that he was... I can't find this picture. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll do a quick video, I think, because I can't find this picture anywhere for some reason. If there's a picture that I come across that basically could prove that he's alive, but it could be fake. I don't know. Can't find it anywhere. Why, I don't know. I did email it to myself and it's disappeared. And it was Epstein in his beard. It was a current photo. It was taken in Israel as well. So I can't find it. It's like I know this sounds ridiculous and conspiracy, but it's literally like someone's wiped it off my phone. I know they haven't. I know that is impossible. But it's disappeared. I'm having one last look now. So I think what I'm going to have to do is put that in a video as a separate thing, because it could be, if this is real, which it probably isn't, then it could prove that he's alive. Now, I know a lot of you do believe that, but I genuinely don't believe the guy's alive. I just don't. Like, there's that clip from when he was taken from the island, and there was that grey-haired guy sat in the little golf buggy. That could be him. Then we had this picture that I'm looking for. That could be him. But there just seems to be more and more evidence that he's dead than he's alive. Now, you heard those journalists all say they matched his fingerprints with the fingerprints of the body. You've seen that pic. Yeah, it could be AI. Hi, Gina. There's another video that I wanted to show you as well. It's got the full interview with that doctor in. So I could leave it on just while I go, I need another wee. I told you I can't stop weeing because I've had tea. Just see if I can find it. Right, I'll tell you what, I'm going to leave this on just while I pop for a wee. Just hold on, not that one, wrong one. Let's see if I can find it, because that clip that I've just showed you with that doctor, I've got the full video of that somewhere. See if I can find it. I do really need to go soon. Oh, I don't know where it is now. There's this as well. This is just a clip. All right. I'm going to have to find that video for next time. I'll have to put it on a different stream or do it as a video because I can't find the picture. But I'm going to end it here because I've been on for over an hour and a half. But just watch this. It's a few seconds. Now, this is the only surveillance footage that there is. Okay. This was the night before. Like I said to you before, I think he died on the night before. This is the 10:39 p.m. Says it's the 9th. He was found on the 10th, so it's the night before. So his cell is over here, the steps over here, and all of the cameras weren't working apart from this one. But you see an orange flash. Watch. Now that orange flash is somebody going up the stairs. It's really hard to see because the camera's not working. All the other cameras aren't working. But watch, it looks like a prisoner is going up them steps. Just looking, see up there. Who's that? They said that nobody went up there. See? Somebody in orange went up the steps. Now, his cell was the first cell on the right of those steps. And every other camera that could have shown for certain was either broken or not recording. Now, this here proves that somebody went up there, and that somebody never came down. Oh, I wee so much when I drink tea. I've not eaten anything since yesterday, and when I don't eat and I drink tea, I can't start weeing every 2 seconds. Yeah, did you see that lovely jubbly? So, you know, how is that possible? Yeah, there's loads of stuff I've got. It's just, yeah, and he was dressed in prison uniform. Now, the guards have gone on record and said, no, no one was there. Right, I'm going to show you that one more time. Right, okay. This video I've just showed you, because I'll give you a little bit of background, okay. This is the night before they found him. So the date on here is the 9th. They found him apparently on the 10th, even though that paperwork came out the night. This was the night before, 10:39, the 9th of August, right? 10:39.41 p.m. They said, because the cellmate had gone, right? He'd gone. This was released in the files, by the way, not long ago. This was dropped in the September files. They said that nobody went in there and nobody came out. The cellmate was taken this day, the day before he apparently died. So there was no cellmate. There was nobody there. Nobody. And when this got dropped, you can see, because these are the stairs here going up, and his cell is on the right. It's the first on the right. Nobody, they said that the officers on record have stated, the prison guards, nobody went up there. But they did go up there. And there's more footage. Nobody came back down. Whoever that is killed him, and they're in orange. They go up the stairs and they don't come back down. Because this footage runs for longer, and I've checked it. No one comes back down. He goes up the stairs. There is the killer, and he never comes back down. So clearly, he's taken out of another door or something. Look, orange flash outside Epstein's cell on the night he died. And that's in the Independent. They can't deny this anymore, folks. It's too much now. They can't deny it. Right, yeah, I will try and find the other stuff. Perhaps that's why two separate rooms had nooses in them. No, well, apparently, Bridget, the cellmate who tried to kill him was removed from the facility completely. He was taken to a different jail, but no one knows what jail. And this is another thing, it makes no sense. If he was removed from the entire facility, why was his ID card still on the door? But the reason why they removed him was because Epstein said that he tried to kill him. Well, there's paperwork. There is paperwork that was shown where he was transferred, but not to where. There's just so much inconsistencies. I've only touched the surface tonight, and I've been going for an hour and 40 minutes. Anyway, it fries your brain. It starts to fry my brain. So the next one, we will cover the Mandelson stuff, and I will do as much research as I can on what's going on there. And then, like I say, we'll get back to normal stuff on here. We'll start doing the news shows and so on. And then we'll move this over to the Curious Bunny. I'm also still reviewing some David Icke stuff over there and other bits. So I say I'm trying to do more live streams. Just bear with me. I'm doing my best. I will be live. Yeah, exactly, Larry. That's a really good point. That prisoner was wandering around, going upstairs on their own, his own. So it was a male thing. On his own. That was the killer. He was dressed in an orange suit, and he is the killer. I can categorically say from all that evidence we've just seen, and I stick with this, he did not kill himself. And this isn't a conspiracy theorist. This is there in front of your face. And the doctor who was present at the autopsy says it as well, that everything there is more consistent with homicide than unaliving. Right, I'm going to leave it there. I'll be live again. I'll probably do a news show one night this week. The egg stain stuff's going to take me a few days. Telling how they handcuffed a dead body. Exactly. And they used cable ties, Nanny, which to me is like an emergency thing. You've got handcuffs written on you. Oh, thank you, Carlos. Guys, please support. If you want more egg stain stuff, get over to the Curious Bunny. But there will be one more of these on this channel. There'll be number 5. We'll be covering the links. There's so much to go through on this. Honest to God. And they're taking a lot away as well. They've removed thousands of files. Thousands of them. Some of the stuff I'm seeing is so dodgy. But yeah, okay. So that's it for tonight. I don't believe for 1 minute that he did kill himself. And it wouldn't surprise me if, as usual, the British state were involved in this as well, in the bumping off. But, you know, who knows? Right, guys, take care. Thanks for joining me. Please hit the like or the dislike if you don't like it. I won't be offended. If you want to join the membership, you can. We're going to be doing a live stream, a members only live stream, and people can join that and come on the panel if they want to give their thoughts in the privacy of just us lot. I think there's 15 of you now. A billionaire with little to no empathy or care for anything would certainly not be unaliving himself because of exactly. And he actually said the day before that he did not feel suicidal. And I think we've covered that in one of the other ones. It was in the release, one of the new releases, where it was when he went to see a psychiatrist, he said he isn't interested in that. And he told his psychiatrist that his cellmate tried to kill him, and that's why they moved him out. Even though they put it down as attempted unaliving, even though he said, no, I didn't. My cellmate tried to kill me. Yeah, narcissists and sociopaths do not kill themselves. Do you know what he actually said the day before this happened? That he was upbeat, I'm quoting here, and looking forward to clearing his name. That's what he said. That isn't somebody who tried to bunt themselves off. And old Ghislaine, she went missing. Do you remember this? About a year after all this happened. And we found her in a coffee shop. Do you remember that? It's a long story. Anyway, she went missing because she knew that if they got hold of her, they'd try and bump her off as well. But by the time they got her, it was too obvious what was going to happen, so they couldn't do it. But she knew that if she would have got taken in at the same time, they would have done them both together at, similar times. And pretended it was like a suicide pact. But a year later, it's just looking too obvious. Anyway, guys, you take care. I'll be on again soon, so keep a lookout. Keep all the channels bells on if you want to join us. And good night. God bless. Don't have nightmares. Try and stay positive, though I know it's hard, but just think of positive things. And I'll see you all soon. Take care. Good night. God bless. Bye.